Welcome back aboard U-80. It's July 10, 20 past 9 ship time, and we are turning for a heading of 215 degrees. We are not directly returning to port. Today was a calm day. The weather has improved very much, and we were able to reload the external torpedoes. We have about 45% of fuel left, and two torpedoes, and we are in the southeastern corner of AL, where we started out to patrol, and we are now going to patrol the area in the hopes of finding more targets, so we can put our 2 remaining torpedoes to use. Fuel permitting, we should be able to stay about 10 more days in the area. We'll probably return once we reach about 35% of fuel. It's July 11, noon, ship time. We are 780 miles south of Iceland and 545 miles due west of Lamb's Head in Ireland. We are heading 270 degrees at a speed of 8 knots, and the sea state is about 1 to 2. Visibility is good, although there is some haze on the horizon, and we haven't found any new targets yet. And we got an interesting message though from headquarters, which I would like to share quickly with you. Because of the ongoing campaign in Russia, headquarters wishes to avoid any confrontation with United States forces. U-boats shouldn't attack United States freighters, neither inside nor outside of the blockade area. We shouldn't attack them in convoys, nor if they are traveling solo. And warships are also only to be attacked from cruisers upwards, so cruisers, battleships, and aircraft carriers, and only if their enemy character has been ascertained. So that is a bit confusing because I'm not sure what that means, their enemy character. So we'll keep an eye out for American warships. I mean, we did see an American battleship in the convoy that we attacked a couple of days ago. However, I'm not sure that would have constituted a situation for an attack according to these orders. Anyway, we'll probably have to decide in a situation once we get there. Anyway, that's for the update. It's July 12th, 3:30 in the afternoon. We just came up from a dive. The weather worsened during the morning. We have visibility of about 2 to 3 nautical miles, so we dive frequently. We have 12 meters of wind, and sea state is 4 to 5, the tendency to 5. We are 630 miles west of Ireland and 700 miles south of Iceland. I don't expect to quickly find a target in this weather. Hydrophone checks didn't reveal much, and obviously optical identification is almost impossible in these conditions. We are down to 43% of fuel, and I suspect at this rate we have about 6 more days, a bit less than a week, that we can spend in the area of operations, and then we have to make for the home port, differing orders notwithstanding.
Jawohl, Herr Kaloin. Volle Fahrt voraus.
Welcome back to the conning tower of U-80. It's shortly past midnight on July 15, 1941. We are 485 miles west, due west of Lamb's Head in Ireland, on the western border of AL-99. And we just received a message on a convoy, an Allied convoy heading west in the grid square just south of us, which is EE-23. It's a large convoy, and I've just ordered full ahead. While I will figure out where exactly we have to position ourselves to hunt for that convoy. We only have 2 torpedoes left, one in the bow, in one of the bow tubes, and one in the stern tube. Both are steam torps, and I intend to put them to good use. We've been experiencing pretty bad weather. This is actually comparatively good over the past few days. Visibility is now more than 2 to 3 nautical miles. We have very strong winds from the west, so we're basically fighting the wind and the waves. So we'll be making about 13-14 knots. Obviously I want to preserve my engines, so I can't go to maximum power yet anyway. But I'm quite confident that we'll be able to add another target, or maybe even 2, to our list for this patrol. I'll be speaking to you shortly. So it's midnight on July 15, and I think come up with a reasonable search pattern. The speed of the convoy is 9 knots, as per the message. That's a bit too fast, so we're going to restrict ourselves to the northern half. The moving grid square. The BE-23 is over here. By the time we make it to the northern border of the moving BE-23, if the convoy is already at the western border, we have to start out here. That's why we have to go here. After that we restrict ourselves to the northern half. And I want to fall back in the moving grid square 12 kilometers each crossing. This is because of the weather. 12 kilometers. I will have a guaranteed acquisition by hydrophone. If conditions are better, no problem. We'll dive at the northern edge, and after the first third, after the second third, and at the southern edge after each crossing. The angle between due west and the heading will be 55 degrees here, 55 degrees here, and so on. And I hope this way we can intercept them rather fast. In theory, this would take 15 crossings back and forth to fall all the way back, 12 kilometers each. But I assume with the intermittent hydrophone checks, we'll acquire the convoy faster than that. If we're unlucky and the convoy is in the southern portion, we still have a chance of acquiring it with the hydrophone checks at the southern turning points. Other than that, we have about a bit more than 30% of fuel left. This is enough to return to base if we can slow down to flow ahead, which we should be able to do. At slow ahead, we have about 3 times the range of full ahead. So at full ahead right now we have roughly 2,500 kilometers. So at slow ahead we should be good to get back to best without problems. Even if we have to chase the convoy a bit into the central Atlantic. Crew-wise, however, a lot of crew are tiring out, especially the watch officers are tiring out because of the adverse conditions that we've been facing all this time while patrolling in the southern portion of AL. But we have to stay on track here to make the best of the situation, and the war is hard enough as it is, so we can't be slacking here. Anyway, I'll catch up with you once I have news. Hopefully an acquisition of the convoy that we're looking for. So it's 5:30 in the morning, shortly before we go for the third dive on our first crossing. We have a bit of haze or fog according to the weather report that one of our officers graded. So just to be sure, we are diving quite frequently. But it does look like the weather is calming down, so we might be able to reduce the number of dives that we perform each crossing. So far we haven't had any luck, obviously. I'm quite confident that we will quickly acquire this convoy. It's July 16, almost 7 o'clock in the morning. We're heading about 95 degrees. At a speed of 4 knots, we're submerged at a depth of 30 meters. We had to abort the search. You can see the search pattern here on the chart. The weather worsened a lot. Visibility dropped below 1 nautical mile, so we had to stay submerged a lot of the time to be able to pick up anything, because hydrophones were really the only means of the only sensor that we're left with. I've estimated that we've missed the convoy due to the speed. Assuming that he stayed on a westerly course, we would now, that we aborted the search, we would now be about almost 30 nautical miles behind. We propose grids. We would be behind by at least 30 nautical miles behind the grid square where the convoy should be in. That is only assuming that he kept on a westerly course, but when we take a look at the convoy routes, we see that they swing north a little bit, though it is highly likely that it swung somewhere along the way. It swung north, and it's now probably in AL 88 or 87. Unfortunately, we didn't get an update on its position, so presumably we were the only boat in the vicinity. I had to abort the search because we are down to less than 30% of fuel. So I've requested permission to transit home, which was granted, and that's what we're doing now. So I'll be back once we encounter a target of opportunity along the way, or anything else happens of interest. It's July 20. We're about 35 miles from the French coast. We are heading 90 degrees at a speed of 11 knots. And we should be able to berth in about 4 hours inside the bunkers. We're down to 10% of fuel and 2 torpedoes. We had very rough seas also on the return trip, and the crew is definitely exhausted at this point. It's now 4:45 in the afternoon, and we're quickly nearing our berthing space. Just passing all these guard boats and some friendly cruisers. The weather has calmed down, at least here inside the bay, so we shouldn't have too much trouble making port. So we're at the very final moments of our patrol. We'll briefly start maneuvering into the bunkers, which you can see on the left side here. I would say this was a reasonably successful patrol. The second one on the new boat were Werner.
Schiff gesichtet. Lage 347. Mittlere Entfernung.
We sank. We have confirmed sinking, so
Schiff gesichtet.
3
Lage
ships.
356. Große Entfernung.
A total of over 15,000 tons. We didn't take any damage to the boat, nor did we take any casualties in the crew or among the officers. I expect that we'll be out for the next patrol in probably less than 2 weeks. depending on what's going on
Schiff
there.
gesichtet.
Might
Lage
be-
1-0. Mittlere Entfernung.
Might be some new equipment that we'll have to install on the boat, but otherwise we should
Schiff
be
gesichtet. Lage 3-4-2. Mittlere Entfernung.
putting to sea in a very short time, I'm sure.